Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you today, and we want you to know you can follow us on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Channel 18. And today we have with us Mayor Phillip Cagle, Mayor of Pikeville. And Mayor, it's good to have you.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being with us. And for maybe some of the, because I know you've had a lot of new people been moving into the area, and for some people that may not know you or know your history, how long have you been mayor?
Well, I ran for city council in 2011. I retired from the county, retired in October 2011, and then I ran for city council in 2000, took office January 1, 2012, and then that September, after taking office in January 1, I moved in as city mayor, and I've been here ever since.
Well, almost 10 years then.
Almost 10 years.
Well, that's good. And since you've been mayor, what are some of the things that have transpired over those 10 years that you've been part of, and maybe even the former administration before you come on that were ongoing? Some things that have changed here in Pikeville.
Well, you know, one of the first projects we did, when I came in office, we had a small grant that was just sitting there in the office, and we were about to lose it, and it was a very small grant, but I thought, you know, we don't want to lose a grant money.
Right.
So we took a project on, and we had the property already right on Main Street where there had been a burnout building, and the city owned it. So we went in there and erected a stage, a little outdoor stage where we could do events. So we had the property, and the grant was not enough that we could have purchased land and did this. Since we already had the property there, we chose, and we established a committee called the Main Street Committee. We had to have that to spend this grant money, oversee it. Grant money is hard to spend. It's tough to get, but it's hard to spend. So we chose to do this stage and for different events, and it's been a great asset to our city. So we built that and utilized that grant to do that, and we have different things there, and we have our cruise-ins, and we'll have bands play, and it's kind of like Dunlap's done with the yard down there. It's different things, you know, and it's been worthwhile to us. And also we turned in, we had the old Fabric House building. You know, the Fabric House building there in town is one of the oldest building in town.
Oh, okay.
It was we didn't know what to do. We wanted to do something with it, but it was so dilapidated we couldn't go back and restore it. We would have had to replace it so much it wouldn't have been the original. So we chose to take it down, and we took that property, and then we got a grant, a small grant, and we built what's now our farmers market. And then that's been a great asset. And the property that was on the west side of that farmers market, we had some property left. So, you know, we were doing Veterans Day one day, and we were sitting there, we were there doing the program, and I was looking at this property that was available, and I said, I feel like we need a Veterans Park. It would be a great location. And as soon as that veterans service was over, some of the veterans, I went up and I said, would y'all love to build a Veterans Park? And they said, you know, that's an idea. And I said, if we can get together and come up with a plan, we will donate this property that the city owns for a Veterans Park. And those guys went to work, and I'm going to tell you, they put in some hard work, and I won't try to name them all. They know who they are. People know who they are, and they started working, and they came up with what's now our Veterans Park, which it's a beautiful park. It's just a memorial, got the stones with the names on them, and it's a very, I call it's sacred ground to me. We don't let anybody, you know, climb on our they built a waterfalls there and erected that. We look after this park. It is sacred ground to me. Those names on those rocks sacrificed everything for our country.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful park, and so that's a couple of things we've done. Then of course the building we're sitting in now was our old Pikeville Elementary School, and you know I went to school board and they graciously donated all this property, the old football field, the property here that the building sits on. So we went after grant money and we built this, I believe in 2013, I think is when we started on it. And now we have our city offices here, and of course the mayor's office here. We also have the Chamber of Commerce. We have now what's called a Geo Room, which we had a grant that did that. It's a great facility, and I you know there's so much involved in it and things that you can do in there that I don't even attempt to try to describe. But it's been a great, and we do have some the east wing of the building is still available, and we do have some interest in locating in it now. Okay. And I won't let that out till it's not really finalized, but we're hoping to do that. And also adjoining our property here, we purchased a building, and which is where it's now our fire department's located.
Right.
We added on to the fire hall there. We had to expand it, and our fire department, Paul Swafford's our fire chief, and I'm gonna tell you, those guys have done an amazing job with that facility. They went in there and added on, and then we've purchased some new fire trucks. We're right now in the process of getting a ladder truck.
Oh, okay.
And that'll lead me into why we're getting the ladder truck. We have recently had an industry locate here, Avision Corporation, and we're thrilled to death to have them. They're going to be bringing jobs here, and Mayor Ridley and the Industrial Board, County Industrial Board, and the City Industrial Board, and the city, we've jointly went together and worked on this facility, and we're thrilled to death to have them. So they'd have 150-foot tower buildings. So we have to have a ladder truck to be able to protect them in case of a fire. So we are purchasing that, and we're going to add on to our fire hall to house it.
Right.
That's just some of the things. There's several things that we've done. It's that won't get into. It's we're proud, of course. Like I said, this municipal building, we have meeting rooms. We have our city courts. We have city council meetings here. The whole facility, it's been a great asset. We have different organizations that meets and has their meetings in our old cafeteria, and they're more than welcome. People use it for family reunions.
Well,
a lot of class reunions, and we just let them use it when they need it.
Well, it's a good thing that you can take the resources you have and just use that and reuse it and fix it up to where you don't have to go out and buy new always.
Right. You know, this building here, I mean, it's an historical building because, I mean, there's so many people went through this school.
Right.
It's funny, we're sitting in the mayor's office right now, and I call it the mayor's office. It's not my office, it is for the time being, but it'll be the next mayor's office. But this was my 6th grade class.
Oh, really?
Yes, and Miss Emma Hale was my teacher, a wonderful teacher. So I have memories. It's like when I come in to work each day, I can think back in time when I was in 6th grade, sitting here looking out the windows here. And we went back and put back the same size windows and everything was here when we were in school here. So they're not the same windows, but they resemble the same windows. So it's pretty touching to get to come in to work and reminisce of when you were in the 6th grade. That's a long time ago.
And you mentioned about the grants. People need to know that it's not always tax dollars working. It's
right.
Of course, sometimes you have to have matching money for some of those grants.
Right.
But the grants is where it's really at for small towns like Pikeville.
Yeah. You know, you could do without grants. And I will say this, and you know, what I said earlier, grants are hard to get. When the state and federal releases grants, they earmark certain things. You know, a lot of times, you know, there's one of the things that, since I've been mayor, we've not had one single street grant come out, and we need a lot of street work. But we've not had any street grants. We've had water grants, we've had wastewater grants, we've had those sort of things, but we do need street grants. We hadn't had any. Hopefully they'll release some soon. So you go after those grants. And let me say this. Our Southeast Tennessee Development District, Beth Jones and those folks down there, we work hand in hand with them. And I'm going to tell you, they are wonderful people. They help us. They'll call us and say, you know, this grant's available. Do you want to go after this grant? And of course we do. Now they're matching grants. Most of them you want to go after is either 75%, 25% match, or better. Now there's some grants is 50% grants and matching 50. But you got to be careful. You have to go after the grants that's going to generate revenue to return that money.
Right.
So if there's no return on it, it's hard to say you're going to do a matching grant of 50% when you're going to put out, say it's a $200,000 grant, you got to pay $100,000. If it's something that's going to benefit you enough to be worth $100,000, you got to spend. If not, if it's grants, maybe it's going to be you get a return on your money. Maybe it's a water grant that you're going to get money back from your water rates or whatever. Yeah. So grants are, yeah, we could not travel without grants. Nobody can travel without grants. And people got to realize too, those grants, when they come out and they earmark it, you can't spend not one penny of that grant for anything else.
Right.
We've had some water grants come in, you know, for water projects, and people say, why didn't you use some of that money to pave some of the streets? You can't.
Right.
I mean, first of all, when you get the grant money, you do that work and you turn in your receipts on what you've done and prove what you've done, then they return that money to you. You don't just they don't just send you $500,000 and say, now there's your money.
Yeah, right.
It don't work like that. That'd be nice if it did.
Yeah.
But they're hard to get and they're hard to spend. It takes a lot of paperwork, a lot of book work. That's why I say the development district with Beth Jones and all those folks helping with it, it makes it a lot easier. Those people they're just lifesavers when it comes to working on grants, going after grants, and helping you spend those grants.
Right.
Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you don't realize till you get into it. But so you have to count on people like that for their leadership.
Right, and they do a good job because I know they've helped, like Sequatchie County and Dunlap and other areas, Chattanooga area. That's where they're from.
Yes.
And they help. That's their job. They go hunt for these grants, and
yes.
And then the counties they represent, they're on it. So now, tell me a little bit about the downtown, how it was developed with all the street corners and things. It really looks nice.
You know, the downtown is beautiful, and let me go on. That came to me with the previous mayor, Mayor Johnson.
Oh, okay.
He went after a grant money to do that, and they did a wonderful job. Ben Farmer was a project engineer over that. It's beautiful downtown. A lot of people complain about it being a little tight as far as driving, but you know, there's there's going to be changes, and when you make changes, there's not always, you don't like maybe everything about it.
Right.
But our town is beautiful. We don't have any red lights downtown. Now everything is a four-way stop, which is nice. We have tourists comes through and they love our town.
Right.
And Mayor Johnson and Ben, they did a wonderful job with it. In my opinion, a lot of people complain, well, it's too tight, the street's or too tight to drive, and it is tight. But when you're coming down through town, you're not supposed to be running 40 miles.
Right.
You know, that's what it's for. It's to slow them down, let them see the businesses. You know, when you're coming through a place and you're running pretty good speed, you don't really see what's around you. And I guess that was the intent for it. But it is a beautiful downtown. We like it, and we like just having four-way stops. We do have a problem with big trucks. GPS still routes the big trucks through our town, thinking they're still on 127. It's not, and they come, and then when they see they're on the wrong street, they try to make a turn. They can't make a turn in our town with 18-wheelers. They go through our landscape. So we have had a problem with maintaining our landscaping with 18-wheelers. One even drove over and took one of our street lights down.
Really?
Yeah, we got him on camera, but we couldn't get enough information on the truck to prove who did it. We saw the truck, saw him do it on camera. But that's been a little bit of a problem, but we put the word out pretty much to the trucking companies, and we don't have a real problem too much now. And we do have signage to tell them it's only local delivery trucks only.
Right.
Of course, that doesn't always work.
Well, do you have I know you talking about the downtown area. I know you have some new businesses coming about. We do. We've had several new businesses open up. Of course, the old fire hall, where there used to be right there, and years and years ago it was Ridley Ford, and before that was Brown and Wilson Ford Company. The city had that, and we had our fire department housed there until we moved them down here. Well, we sold that building to Cliff Fowler. He's put in an antique mall in the back. He's got Ember's ice cream in the front. Oh, okay.
Across the street on the corner, he's got Nickel Roll. He's got Nickel Roll Antiques. I mean, it's full of antiques. Great place to shop. I'm gonna tell you, it's got some stuff. He does a consignment type deal over at the one at the old Nickel Roll Antiques. People come in and they have booths, different ones set up, and sell that up. So it's a variety of stuff. It's a great place to shop. Of course, he's got the ice cream shop. Of course, we've got a new. This is not downtown. It's on the bypass. We have a Taco Bell. They broke ground last Wednesday. Matter of fact,
what?
They come in with the dozers and started moving dirt last Wednesday. They're hoping to be open before Christmas. They're a great bunch of guys, great people. The owner that owns this one, this will be his 7th Taco Bell. He owns ones in Crossville and in some other counties, and we're thrilled to death to get them here. Trying to think some other business. One of the great things that's been put in here is Travis Smith has put in I don't know how to describe this. It's an area out here. He took a building and he's built. They have turf in there. They have exercise. They have the football teams can come in there and
at the lab.
It's a lab. It's a lab. I'm gonna tell you, you need. I don't know if you done an interview or anything on that yet. This facility is amazing, and I dare say we're one of the few places around that even has something this nice.
Yes, it's nice.
And Travis, just a dear friend of mine. He's done a super job with that. And this thing is something for the future that's going to be a big, it's already an asset to this city, of the county, even the surrounding counties.
Right. I know some people from the area that come here.
Yeah.
Not just for Pikeville.
You know, Travis is a sharp guy. He's got a business head, but he loves this valley. He loves this valley. He worked with Bryan College. Matter of fact, Jack's playing soccer for Bryan College, and Audrey goes to school at Bryan College, his kids. But he's affiliated with them. Travis is he's a good businessman, but he loves the area. He loves this town. He loves the county. He loves this whole valley. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I know, talking about, excuse me, change. I know a lot of people, they like to go back to the old way like it used to be. But once you start getting in new businesses like Taco Bell and the Avigin, once you start getting in new businesses, things are not going to be the same.
No, you know, there are going to be changes. Growth is good, but the right kind of growth is what's good. Right. You know, you know, a lot of places you've seen you know, different places like where Nissan goes in and Chapel Hill, different places, it explodes quickly. That's scary. You know, to me it is. Maybe not to a lot of people. I'm not, you know, I'm all for growth and don't ever want nobody to think I'm not.
Right.
But I'm very skeptical about what kind of growth you get. You want good growth. You want good families to come in. You want good, wholesome business to come in. You don't want things that you know, it's not maybe that's good for the community. And I got to be careful how you put that. I mean, I'm all for growth and good jobs. We need jobs. We do have another company looking at one of our buildings now. But you know, you want family-oriented jobs that comes in. It's going to create good, wholesome jobs. So we are for growth, and we don't. And you want change, but you don't want it to change to the point to where it's not home anymore. You know, I guess I'm not trying to dodge the question.
Right, I understand.
It's one of those things you want your, you know, what I love about this town, Glenn, you know, I live right in the middle of town. And I can walk out my door and I see young kids riding their bicycles up and down the sidewalks. That's the way it was when I was growing up in this town. I rode bicycles all over this town. That's what I love about Pikeville, Tennessee. Kids can ride their bicycle and not worry. You worry about your kids. I mean, it can happen anywhere, but they can ride their bikes and you're not really worried about it. My little grandson grew up riding his bicycle up and down the sidewalk. He's 20 now, but I know on some of our videos of Pikeville back then, it's got a picture of him riding his bicycle. And that's what we want Pikeville to be. We want it to be the kind of place that your family enjoys living and it's safe. You know, they can walk the streets of night, not concerned about a drive-by shooting. Right. You know, you never know what can happen, but we don't have what goes on in the major cities.
Right.
And we don't want that.
No.
We don't want that kind of town. But we're trying to be careful of that sort of thing.
Well, and you mentioned the right type of businesses coming in. If you had a business that come in that required, say, a lot of water, for example, then that you might have to go out and spend $1 million or more just to update your water plant. Because you'd need the, you know, for pipes and everything.
That's true. You know, as a matter of fact, we brought that up. Our water system, our water plant was renovated back some years ago, and we have some of the best water you'll ever drink. And you know, when we went through, the only thing, we're on wells. And it concerns you sometimes when you don't, it concerns me of how much water we got because you can't see it.
Right.
Now, you know, and we went through the droughts several years ago, and you know, and Dunlap, Mayor Lamb was a big help to us. We pump water. We're tied into Dunlap. We can turn the whole south end of the county and pump water from Dunlap. And he let us have water. And then we pump from the Squatchy River up here. So that is a concern of how much water do you have to supply. But we do have a sewer or wastewater treatment plant is very outdated. It's an old facility. We've done some renovating on it about 5 or 6 years ago. But we are in the process now of a brand new wastewater treatment plant. We're pursuing that. We're going through grants. It's a major project. We're looking at a lot of money, but we'll have a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant when it's done. And my guys that runs the wastewater plant, they're fantastic. To do the job that they do with a facility that outdated, it's amazing. How good a job they do. They stay on top of it. But I can't wait for them to get this new plant. They deserve it.
Right.
And because they've done a wonderful job. Justin Thomas is over our wastewater treatment plant, and Shannon Davis and Johnny Smith. They do a wonderful job, and you don't worry about that plant. But they deserve a new one. Trust me. But now that's one of the things we got going on right now, and it'll be several years, maybe probably the next 5 years we'll have that.
Well, I know the wastewater treatment plant takes time. That's something you can't just go out and just start building.
You don't. We've got the location already, and it's just finalizing everything and just getting it started.
Well, are there any other plans? I know on I guess that would be the northern end of town, going towards 127 towards Crossville. Any plans? I know there's some spots, where there's nothing there, and then a building. Anything?
Well, there's one area on just the other side of McDonald's. We're hoping to get some utilities over there. We're working on that right now. Is getting it across 127 highway over to this property for development. We're working on that, and hopefully that's going to come about. Another thing that we've just acquired is through the industrial board again. We have our old city spring area. Now, as you're going down the East Valley Road, right behind the farmers market, we have a city spring that's located down there that was probably one of the reasons Pikeville was located where it's at, because it was water years ago. And years ago they carried water from this spring up to the courthouse. They carried the water. And it joins the Squatchy River. We have canoeing and kayaking with Timmy and Michelle Campbell down up the valley, and you can canoe or kayak the Squatchy River. All right, the county industrial board purchased this property recently, and matter of fact, we recorded the deed on it. I think she's recorded it today. We're taking that and turning it back into a city park at this spring, and we're putting a canoeing and kayaking launch pad right there in the Squatchy River. You can go up and with Michelle and Tim and come down the river. You can take out there and they'll take you back. Anyway, it's putting it all together, and we're doing that. But it's going to be a city park, and we're saving the old spring. It's a beautiful place. Of course, it's in a floodplain when the river gets out of bank, but we won't do any buildings that the water will damage. But it's going to be a pretty bright. At one time, a group of people, we had this down there, and it's called Catherine's Garden. And we had some little festivals down there and had a little stage built, done some music, and it's a beautiful place when it's kept. And it was kind of let go and abandoned, but now we're bringing that back. Matter of fact, we're going to put together a work day. We got to get some people down there and cut up some trees, and our old Ethan's all in on that, and he's going to help us with it. And matter of fact, for our Oktoberfest coming up the first weekend in October, we're going to do some events down there. I think Ethan, then we're going to do maybe a little fishing tournament. I think we're going to do our fireworks from down there this year. That's the problem. When we have our fireworks, is having a location to set them off at.
Yeah.
So I think we'll use that down there, and hopefully it's going to be able to see them real good from anywhere in town on Main Street there. And so we're going to have a work day. It ain't going to take much. It's not going to take much. Just getting in there and with some bush hogs and chainsaws and just cleaning up and get it down where we can do it with just lawnmowers in. And it will be a beautiful place.
And I guess you're not offended if anybody wanted to volunteer and help you out.
Oh no. I don't think me and Ethan wants to do it all. No, we'll get volunteers. I know Tim Campbell's always ready to help. When we put the word out, what day we want to do it, and need volunteers, we'll get plenty of help. We got a lot of people interested in it.
Well, I'm excited because of all the things that y'all started with your cars there in front of the courthouse, and the different little events that y'all got going on that makes a small town come alive. Everybody gets involved, and it brings people out and brings the good out in everybody.
Glenn, I guess it'd be a good time I could kind of bring people up on what we did recently. Our cruise-ins we were struggling. Sometimes we'd have 10, 15 cars. Sometimes we'd have 20. We do the cruise-in the first Saturday of every month from May through October. And it was just kind of kicking along. Well, I firmly believe every town needs a gimmick, something you're noted for, something your people can relate to you with. I came up with a crazy idea, and I'm pretty bad about coming up with some off-the-wall crazy ideas. And I love cars. I don't have street rods. I don't race. I don't do that, but I love racing. I have a lot of good friends of mine that's in the street outlaw race. I got Jim Howe out of Crossville that's over the Kentucky Outlaws. A friend of mine. I came up with an idea. There's no other town in the country that we researched that had a burnout pad. People are like, what are you talking about? I came up with an idea to build a burnout pad right in the middle of town in front of the courthouse. So we took city guys and we cut about 18 by 20 something. I don't remember the exact footage. We poured a slab of concrete. We put the tie downs down in the street. Our first burnout we just put out by word of mouth. It was going to be on June the 3rd, I think, the first Saturday in June, whatever date that was. We just word of mouth said we're going to do a burnout, just a hand pick. Not just people just come in there and do a burnout. I hand picked some experienced drivers, Denny George, Michael Walker, some of those, that knew what they were doing is safe. We had 95 cars show up for that car show.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's word of mouth. Well, Tommy Lee Bird, has a program called Rod Hoarders, and he also does promotions for Coker Tire, and he does car magazines, and he's a photographer and writer. He came over and videoed and everything on the June cruise in us doing these burnouts. If you go on YouTube or Hot Rod Hoarders and pull up Pikeville, it'll say Pikeville burnouts. It'll show you the videos.
Yeah.
Well, in July our cruise in, we had 230 cars show up.
Really?
This thing went nuts. Well, we're not having them on Main Street now, and I'll tell you why. before we had our August cruise in, I had a visit from our insurance company, City Insurance. So we sat down and they said, and very nice people, TML, but they said, Mayor, we need to talk about this burnout pay. And I said, I thought we might. So anyway, he said, you don't have liability coverage for something like that. Because first of all, because we don't have the safety barriers.
Right.
But we did not let anybody burn out that I was that concerned with. The guys that did the burnouts, they had the locks and all that, you know. And we only had, like, I think 4 at a time in those 2 months. But, so I said, I understand. You don't have liability. So I knew that. But Glenn, here's what I was wanting. I wanted our name out as a burnout city, burnout capital of whatever.
Yeah.
The only place in the country. And we did that. I had calls from California.
Really?
I did. It went all over YouTube, and they're like, "Man, this is great to the car world now."
Right.
If you're not into the cars, you're like, it's a stupid idea, and it was, you know, it might have been something. But what we're doing, we have a fairground, and we have an area over there that's perfect for an amphitheater type seating, where we can tier that. Before next year, we're going to tier that area. We're going to pour the pad there. We'll have the concrete barrier blockers all in between the spectators, which will be up on the hillside, not down on the level with the cars. We're putting a larger pad for the burnouts. We're going to go back to our truck and tractor pulls like we've been having them.
Right.
That track will run parallel with this pad where we'll do truck and tractor pulls. Also, we're going to be doing rack and horse speed racing. Now, this is a new thing to people that's not familiar. It's big in Alabama, I think. But what they do, I love speed racking horses. I love to see those things speed rack. They don't, you know, they go around in a circle. Now, a lot of those horses are so fast they can't make the turns. But this speed racking is they line up just in a straight line. They go from point A to point B in a straight line, speed racking. It's a thing of the future. You just remember. But now they'll use the same track as the truck and tractor pulls will use it. And we're finishing everything on the north side of the fairgrounds, the city owns. We've been using for dumping brush and that sort of thing, not garbage, brush for years. We're done with that. We're finishing it out for parking. We'll be able to park hundreds of cars in that area.
Wow.
And they'll come right out of that parking lot up through the top gate, and they'll be looking right directly down on the event facility.
Well, that sounds exciting.
It's going to be good. It's going to be great. We're hoping it's all we got to do that with is just labor. And we have a guy that's a great dozer operator. He'll get in there and do all the tiering. We've got the plan on it, and it'll be good if nothing happens. But now, here's the thing about the insurance. People say, okay, how do you do an event out there and the insurance covered? Okay, you can get a blanket policy. In other words, when we have a truck and tractor pull, or when the carnival comes in, they have a blanket coverage insurance, maybe a 24-hour coverage. All right, you can take those out, but now the city can't. We can't sponsor these burnouts or these truck tractor pulls. Now it can be in the city facility, but like the fire association, or maybe the rescue squad, or not even the Main Street Committee, because they're affiliated with the city. They can have the event and get a blanket coverage and sponsor it. I got educated on their insurance. But they say, well, what about in town? How come you can't do one on the existing burnout pad that you built? nobody will give a blanket policy to insure that because it's not safety oriented.
Right.
It does not have the safety precautions there because people's too close to it.
Right.
Out there, they said you can get a coverage that will cover that because it's going to be safety built. Trust me, we're not going to let anybody get in a danger area out there, if any way possible. And it's not that dangerous out there because you're not in that close quarters. So that's kind of I thought, a lot of people are like, man, this is crazy. But we built this thing for nothing. The concrete was donated by a local company here that does concrete, Jimmy and Brian Reese. They're just great to help us. And by the way, they're a new company in that business out here, and hope they do well with it. But that's just something, I'm glad to bring that out about the burnout pad because we got a tremendous amount of coverage on that thing. If you go on YouTube or anywhere and you pull up Pikeville, Tennessee or the burnout, it's going to show you videos of Eddie George and Michael and them doing their burnouts, and people loved it. We went from 20 to 25 cars to 230
in 2 months' time.
2 months. 2 months time, and I'm one of those. To me, I will say this: I think it's it makes no sense to sit there and burn your tires up and see smoke. But that's what people like. It don't necessarily mean I'm gonna do it because I like it. I don't get that excited about it. Now I do love drag racing, and I love to see them do the burnout and then go 140 mile an hour down the track. But there is people that loves it, and I'm not going to do something just because it's something I like. I want to do whatever it takes to make people happy they enjoy. And I love horse shows. A lot of people don't. We have some great horse shows. The third Saturday of every month through the season, we have some great horse shows out there. So that anything we can do to bring people to town. Sales tax is a big thing to Pikeville, Tennessee. Our general fund operates on sales tax and property tax. We don't want to raise people's property tax to do events or to put in these type of facilities, so we'd rather have the sales tax. The sales tax is good money. That means somebody in this town that's got a business is making money.
So tourists can come in and spend their money and then go home.
Right, and then they give the sales tax goes into the city. We've had the Bank Walker Brewing Companies opened up here in town. The Morgan boys have done a wonderful job, and I'm gonna tell you this. I tell people this all the time. When sales tax is so important to the city of Pikeville, when we have a truck tractor pull and they bring 1,500, 2,000 people to town, when we have a horse show, when we have any event in this town, I can see the sales tax report next reporting period. I can tell you we've had an event here.
Right.
That's how important sales tax is to us. When you can do one event and you can see how much it increased your sales tax, that is a very important thing. So what we're after is to bring people here. To generate sales tax, you got to get people to come to your town and spend money, but you got to give them a reason to come to your town and spend money. Nobody goes anywhere. That is a destination. They're coming here for a reason, whether it's a truck pull or a tractor pull, a horse show, or any event. That's what generates the sales tax. We don't want to raise property tax we need to do playgrounds. I know Dunlap has got a water park. We would love to have a water park, but you got to have sales tax to be able to build those facilities.
Right.
We'd love to do more for our kids, and we are working on a grant, or as a new playground. That's another thing about the grants. But it takes money to do these things. Our city we operate on a very tight budget, but we do well. We've done real well considering things, and we want to do more.
Well, good. It sounds like you got a lot of things on your plate.
I got a lot of ideas anyway.
Was there anything else you'd like to share with us before we close today?
No, I just want to say I really appreciate what you do, promoting the whole Sequatchie Valley, and most of all, I appreciate BTC Fiber and Channel 18, Charlie Bourne and Ethan and all the guys that work so hard for this valley. You know, and let me plug the Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative. Our fiber optics is very critical, and it is really putting this little valley on the map.
It sure
what
is.
They're doing with these fiber optics. I'm gonna tell you, it's like this geo room and be able to do this, and we appreciate them. We appreciate what they do and the hard work that they do.
Well, our goal is to promote all the good things that are going on, because there's too many bad things that get coverage.
Exactly.
So we thank you for your time today, Mayor. And,
thank you.
Appreciate having you. And folks, you can again see us on BTC Fiber YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Channel 18, and we appreciate you today. Thank you. Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequatchie Valley.